Let's talk about Travis Kelce's chance at redemption, free agency moves, including Frank Clark signing with the enemy. Note some standouts from OTAs such as Deneric Prince, Skyy more, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? First up, it was recently announced that on Monday, June 12th at 7:10 p.m., Travis Kelce will have the chance at first pitch redemption at Kauffman Stadium filled with fans from Kansas City who will be watching his every move to see if this first pitch will be better than his last. And in case you forgot, back in April, Travis threw the first pitch at the Cleveland Guardians game and basically spiked the ball into the ground, which not only almost made Mahomes deceased from laughter, but also caused him to plead to the Royals to give Kelce a second chance. And just like that, he gets one more. Andy Reid himself said that Travis has been working hard at it. Mahomes has been coaching him up, and it should be a better outcome. So we will find out soon. And then a couple of free agency moves happened recently that's worth mentioning. Former Chiefs receiver Demarcus Robinson, the running backwards man himself, signed a one-year deal with the Rams. Former Vikings running back Dalvin Cook was released. And do I think the Chiefs are going to get him? Probably not, but I do like him. He's definitely a high profile free agent, and it's such a weird time now that we're on the subject of running backs to be a running back in today's NFL. Their overall value continues to decline, and the era of running backs as we know them are starting to shift to newer / fresher blood. I mean, look at this. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, they're all free agents. Then you have Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs have not yet to sign their franchise tag tenders. Meanwhile, the Chiefs RB1 is a 7th rounder from last year's draft, and a UDFA is fighting to make the roster. Meanwhile, their first rounder, big old question marks there, didn't go to the Super Bowl parade, didn't even go to the White House yet, has been working hard so far this offseason. We'll see how that goes for CEH, but it is a wild time for running backs indeed. Anyway, in some D-Hop news, he's reportedly set to have a visit with 2 teams, with those 2 being the Titans and the Patriots. 2 teams that have a 0% chance of helping him finally get a ring, but the tour is just getting started, with Hop expected to visit more teams to see which will throw him the most amount of money. It also could be he has a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick, but those teams are not winners. And then, speaking of winning organizations, I talked about this in more detail in this video here from yesterday, but Frank the Shark Clark signed a one-year deal worth up to $7.5 million with the Denver Broncos yesterday. That happened, and it's done, just like Frank's postseason career. But I wish the guy the best, other than when they lose 2 more games to the Chiefs this upcoming season. On a more serious note, though, Breach Veach and Coach Spags said it best regarding Frank and what he meant to the organization.
Funny, right before I got here, I had a chance to reach out to Frank, and I texted him. I said, hey, 4 years, 4 AFC championship games, 2 Super Bowl wins, what a great ride. Wish him the best. Now, obviously, he's in Denver, so I'm not going to be a fan.
I love Frank Clark. And I tell him this all the time. I thought he still has the biggest heart of any human being I've ever known. I wish we didn't have to play him twice a year, but sometimes it works out that way.
And I guess the last thing I'll add to the Frank Clark situation is that today we learned a little more from him via an interview with Josina Anderson, where he explained a little behind the scenes of when he got released by KC back in March. He said, the reality is I had to face that a few months ago. When I had the conversation with Breach Veach, that settled in for me a few months ago, the fact that there was a high chance that I probably wasn't going to be back. He then said, there's always a little bit of hope that you could defend your crown and stuff like that, but I kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen just based off our conversation that we had. We had a personal conversation, and I felt that after the convo with Breach Veach. They then waited, talking about Frank Clark and his agent, to see how free agency played out with the idea of circling back with KC, but he didn't really get an offer, and it was more than likely because it wouldn't have been for enough money anyway, and they both knew that. Therefore, it was a quiet understanding between Frank Clark and the Chiefs, and Frank, quote, enjoyed the relationship he built with everybody. There's no hard feelings to anybody in the building. Now, the question I do have is, how does this make Chris Jones feel? Of course, he's happy for his friend, sharing a congratulatory message when Frank Clark signed with the Broncos yesterday, but roughly 25 minutes later, he followed up with a tweet simply saying, SMH, aka shake my head, aka he's disappointed in something. So what was it? Was it the Chiefs not being willing to work something out with Frank Clark even after he asked them for like a week straight to do so? Was it the reality that his close friend and teammate over the last 4 years is for sure gone, and with the rival divisional opponent, and that sort of just sunk in for him? Or could it possibly be frustration regarding a contract extension. And I know this one tweet isn't enough to go on, so if it was just that alone, I wouldn't even have brought it up. But today, Chris Jones shared this video with the caption saying, "Clock's ticking," with a couple of hourglass emojis followed by hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. And I will say that after this was shared, many assumed it potentially had something to do with a contract extension, and Chris Jones is subliminally saying, "TikTok, let's make something happen," followed by him sharing some highlights of him wrecking Derek Carr and Justin Herbert, i.e., keep me around if you want to see more of this happening. And some of the response around the kingdom from that video was, "Ruh-roh," and "let the speculation begin. I swear if Veach trades him, this could mean a number of things, hopefully one of the better options," and the list goes on. However, all of this could mean absolutely nothing, and Chris Jones is simply letting Chiefs Kingdom know that he's ready and excited to show up and show out this upcoming season. But I guess that's where I want to ask you guys your thoughts on this. Do you think Chris Jones is frustrated with the Chiefs for not bringing back the Shark, or maybe because of contract extension talks, or is it a big old nothing burger? Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, next up, the Chiefs OTAs wrapped up for the week, with the focus of the week being on the AFC West the last 3 days, which Andy Reid and Mahomes have consistently said they have a huge focus on divisional opponents, and then also a focus on the Lions, which is who they play to open up the season. And in the media look from yesterday, it was noted that 10 players were absent from practice, which is still voluntary, okay, so not the end of the world, but those players were Chris Jones, Turk Wharton, L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Watson, Leo Chanel, Blake Bell, Jody Fortson, Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, Trey Smith, and Justyn Ross. And I swear, if they move Justyn into the witness protection program like they did last offseason, Chiefs Kingdom will literally go on a manhunt to find this guy before the feds can even find Chiefsaholics. So hopefully he's good to go, but we will certainly find out soon, because mandatory minicamp takes place next week from June 13th to June 15th, and since it's mandatory, he should be there. Anyway, Trent McDuffie could be seen out there at OTAs, but still without a helmet on, nursing an injury of sorts, I believe. Another player recovering nicely is Felix Uzama, who's been getting back into the swing of things after that thumb surgery. Plus, Coach Reid noted he had a hamstring issue as well and is feeling better every day, thankfully. And as far as standouts go at OTAs yesterday during the media look, Matt McMullen noted that Skyy Moore was busy with several catches during both 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. Coach Reid complimented Skyy, saying he's worked real hard this offseason, looks like he's on the same page as Patrick, and wants to see how he does when the pads come on. He didn't say that directly, but he keeps insinuating it basically about every player when he was asked about them yesterday, saying they're doing well, but I need to see how they perform when the pads come on. Another standout that both McMullen and Pete Sweeney complimented was UDFA running back Deneric Prince, who went up and made a couple of nice high point catches, with the first being over cornerback Joshua Williams from Mahomes in 7s, and later in 11s for a TD from Shane Buechele. Coach Reid said Prince, quote, has really good hands, he's got skill, he's big and can run. But then again, he said that he wants to see the running aspect of the game from Prince as well once the pads come on, because it's primarily a receiving camp thus far. QB Blaine Gabbert also weighed in on Prince, saying for being a rookie, he's doing a tremendous job. He had an unbelievable back shoulder catch from Mahomes earlier, which was unbelievable to see a running back make a play like that. So that's some high praise from Blaine Gabbert and nice compliments overall for Deneric Prince. It's been encouraging, from his standout catches to Dave Tobe naming him as the first prospect he liked as a returner, comparing him to Niall Davis in the return game. So I like the odds of this man making the roster so far, for the current moment at least. Jawaan Taylor also spoke to the media, saying he doesn't care what side he plays, left, right. He's just here to do whatever the team needs him to do. He's athletic enough to make the switch. So if he needs to switch sides, he'll do it. He's currently soaking everything in and enjoying learning the system here in KC. He feels good chemistry being built with his teammates, spending a lot of time with them to hang out and build friendships, and noted that the system here is a bit more complex for the O-lineman than it was with the Jags. And someone else who was speaking about complexity on the other side, defense, was actually safety Justin Reid. He basically echoed what Spags said a couple weeks ago regarding the DB room, saying they are light years ahead of where they were at this point last year, because everybody was basically new. You had 5 rookies: Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Brian Cook, Nazeeh Johnson, and then Justin Reid himself, not new to the NFL, but was brand new to Kansas City. He then went went on to explain something pretty wild, to me at least, when he said he didn't start to feel completely comfortable in the Chiefs' defense until a week or two after the Bengals game in the regular season. That's mid-December. He then added, there's a bit of a steeper learning curve here. And that is crazy to me. Mid-December until the secondary began to feel comfortable with Spags' scheme. I'm glad they figured it out and came alive in the postseason, because without that happening, the Chiefs probably would have been in trouble. Anyway, it's good news for everyone that the secondary, for the most part, has a year of experience now under their belt with Spags and his system. And speaking of experience, the veteran Blaine Gabbert said the decision for him coming to KC was an easy decision after talking with former teammate and Chad Henne, and also a conversation with Andy Reid about what they were looking for in a backup QB. He complimented former, but now also current teammate once again in Donovan Smith, saying he's going to help this team a lot. And with the current line the Chiefs have, Gabbert said that's got to be the best, if not one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Well, okay then, I like that. Just allow Mahomes to sit back in the pocket and roast some freaking marshmallows and it's game over. Gabbert then described Mahomes and Tom Brady as maniacal perfectionists. Quote, and I mean that in the most endearing way possible. They're the two best, in my opinion, to ever play the game. Huge praise from Blaine Gabbert, comparing both Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. It's no real surprise the way that they compose and approach the game on and off the field. He then said Mahomes is the master of the system, approaches it like it's day one in how he takes his notes, and is always looking for ways to improve and get better. Gabbert also complimented the wide receiver room, saying the room is young and talented. They are eager to learn, are working extremely hard, and it's a lot of fun to work with them. And on the note of wide receivers having fun, Kadarius Toney could be seen out there, and coach noted that he's having fun and developing a relationship with everyone, the quarterback in particular, which is a must. Got to develop the trust with Mahomes. And then noted that Rashee Rice has done a nice job also. I mean, for all these new guys, he said the volume, the tempo, the newness, they're working through it, and it's all a positive so far. And with all that being said, what are your thoughts on the team so far as they head into mandatory minicamp? Who are you going to have your pupils on to see how they progress? Deneric Prince, one of the draft picks, Justyn Ross, someone else? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?